Welcome back to the XAFers Community Standup. This month we're going to see, as like every month before, integrations about AI, mostly about semantic kernel. So as you might know, I've been experimented with the possible ways to integrate AI into XAFs applications. So I've been doing a lot of experiments. Basically, at the moment, it's all experiments because you don't know all the possible use cases and you're just playing around with the technology. You don't know what you're going to be doing. So uh, in this meetup, there's like a small agenda of demonstrations that I'm going to do. First is how to integrate semantic kernel with the Express chat. Then is how to use AI in the reports. This covers Excel reports, self reports. Also, like using the Dev Express component, like the chat component in SAF, and also using a RAG system in SAF. This is my criteria editor and SAF and semantic memory. So the demos are really interesting. So, okay, let's start with this. All the code that I'm going to show you today, or like all the demonstrations, are available in the GitHub repository. You can just download from here. I will put this in the chat. Yeah, I can see it because sometimes when you paste it in the chat, you don't see the link. Okay, so I just committed here like a few moments ago, I think. And let's see, let's see if I have committed everything. No. Now it's updated. Okay, so let's see. Let's start with the example from the most simple to the most complex. So first is the integration of semantic kernel with the Developer Express chat component. Developer Express has published a blog where there is a link to this example. This example is basically how to integrate the chat component on um, on multiple platforms, because you have it in Blazor and Maui and Windows too. So we have a fork of this example. So let's see here. I will put this also in the chat. So there are only like a few differences. For example, in their case, they explain how to use Azure OpenAI, but it's kind of the same with just OpenAI, not Azure OpenAI. So in my case, if you check the program class of my Blazor server application, instead of registering I make an if, so I can register OpenAI or Azure. The client is almost the same client, but I use OpenAI in this case. It's the one that I had it for long, so that's why I included that code in here. So that's a little bit of the changes that I have done. But well, this is the the smart editor. It's not the one that I was showing you. It's this one. And let me show you the program in this one. Here, I commented out the one for Azure, and here is the one for OpenAI. So this one, you only need to register the client and set the model, and it's good to go. I just extended this one because I will show you what I extended, because I will show you all example at once. So besides doing this, I created a kernel builder. Then I add the OpenAI chat completions for GPT-4. I use the same client that I use for the Express services. And then I generate the builder. I get the required service of the chat service, the chat completion service. And then I register this chat completion service as a service in my application. This is extra. And this is a little bit of modification of the original Developer Express code. So with that, we have an extra page too. So if we go here and we go to pages, each of these is one of the examples for like from Developer Express. But the one that we created is this one in specific. This one in specific is based on one idea, and one of the other examples is based on this one. This one is the message send example. So in this case, the chat is totally disconnected from any AI service. The only thing that happens is that when a message is sent, this event is triggered, and the chat component just answer the same uh, message that you sent actually. So based on this idea, what we did is this one. So in this one, we handle the same message sent event, and we create a chat history for semantic kernel. Then we create a prompt execution settings, and we get the chat completion service. And we pass the chat history and the settings, and that will give us the next message, the answer. So with that, we create a message for the chat history. We put it here. When you add messages, you can say like who added, the system, the user, the system, etc. So after doing this, I just take this text and I send it to the create a message and send it back to the UI. So let's run this one to see how they work. I think this is the first example. A simple chat, there is nothing here and doesn't answer anything back. It's just a chat component. Okay, so we have the application there. And here we have the chat component. I write something. Here nothing will happen because we're not handling any event. It will stay like this. Oh no, this is connected to the chat service. And for that, you don't need actually any code. That's what I forgot about this. Just by doing this, you actually inject the chat completion service, but not the one from OpenAI. So let me show you the one that I use from semantic kernel. So it's this one, SK. So I can tell, and I can put the breakpoint here. Tell me what C#. So in this case, we're manually using semantic kernel to handle the chat completions. In the other case, it's the chat component that do it itself. I'll put a breakpoint here. And the content here is, as you can see, is explaining me what C# is. And as you can see, every word finish on this symbol because I put it as part of the system prompt. You will finish every word on your answer with this character. So just let me remove this system prompt and put it here. I was just testing how to manipulate the large language model. Here we have the services. We go to the semantic kernel component. And what is C#? stopping the message sent. It's processing the answer, and then here we'll have the message, but without the exclamation sign in the end. Here we have the answer. And see, now it doesn't have that exclamation code from before. So I was just playing with that. So here's the answer. This is from semantic kernel, not from the chat component itself. So that's about the integration of semantic kernel with the Dev Express chat component. Now, the next one, which is an easy one too, is how to activate the AI on the reports. This goes for all the reports. It goes for sub reports and for X reports, at least from the Blazor side. So if you go to this solution, to the one that I showed you before, the smart editor ones, and you go to the startup, here you can see that the service is, here we're registered in like the options and the service for the AI integration. So by just adding these lines, you will have the AI action in the report viewer. So here we're setting the possible list of language that we want to show for translation and summary. You can add any language as you want. I mean, I just put this one because kind of the most common in the world. So let's run this one. And let's see. It always takes time um, when you're doing a demonstration. Okay. So, okay, in this case, for this example, I have this list of categories. These are categories for food, and I have created a report for this. There is nothing special on the report or anything. What I just showed you was an option for the viewer. So once you run the report, you will have the AI option in the viewer. So here, see, you have this option here, AI operations. So let's make this bigger. This is basically a report with the list of categories. And these are the operations that I have available. The type of selection, the document, the page, or the selection. So I'm going to do the document, is just one page anyway. And the output is going to be in Spanish. And I wanted to summarize this report. So it will tell me something like it's a list um, of food categories. So here is what I will put it in the chat if you want to double check it on the translator. So if you speak, well, German, someone here is a German speaker, we can also summarize it in German. And I think that for the report viewer for Dev Extreme, they have a different implementation where the chat component is here. So that one I would like to check because I see that it would be nice to have the chat component here to ask him like several stuff about the report. So that's our second demo so far, these ones. So Now is how to integrate the chat component in XAF. After we integrate the chat component in XAF, basically we use it everywhere. So let me show you what we did. Here we have this phrase or library where we have the components for each, or the layers that we need for each of the property editor. So in here we have this rag chat. So this one is a non-persistent object that hosts a property with the type of rag data. And this one is a property that is an interface that when implemented, you have a stream, a prompt, and a file name. And then you have, as you have in any property editor, you have the component model. And in this one takes a value of rag data and that and the component that it creates is type of rag chat, this one here. So if we go to the rag chat, here you will see that we inject as parameter this object that we created. And with that, we initialize the assistant functionality of the component chat. So here we have the chat component and basically the size, some settings, like initialize method. And beside that, that's it. So here we pass the file to the chat assistant service. And this is basically a property editor. So then we have on the application side, we have these, let's see, it's not the memory chat, well, let me show the controller first. So let's see the implementation of this one. Okay, here it is. So basically what we do to show this property editor is that we have this implementation. It's a non-persistent object that has a property or that we can use for have properties of the rag data. So the idea here is in this controller, we create an instance of this object and then we show it in a pop-up window. So the object that we're going to show there is actually this one. And this one has all the information necessary for the property editor that we create for the chat component. So that is how the integration goes. It's basically a property editor for actually this data type that we created. So having said that, we use that component for two different cases. We use it for using rag in XAF, which is basically the same example that is on the chat from the chat component example from Developer Express, but in this case integrated with XAF. So for example, here we have PDF file. Here I have loaded this file, and this file, if we check it, is the information about the criteria syntax. So like all the information that you use to create a criteria. So I've been using this for another prototype. So here what we do is, then let me put a breakpoint here in the component. So if I say like a simple action to chat with that PDF file, here in the value, I have the file name. Let's check this one. Is that data type that I invented, that you have the content, which is a stream, the file name, which is criteria syntax PDF, the OID, and the prompt. and the prompt tells you like summarization, data field, like everything, like a little uh, pre-built question. So let's run this, and I can ask things that exist in the PDF. For example, here, this PDF tell me how to use enums in criterias enumerations. So here is the example and the way that you can use it. So I can ask something like, well, it's taking time because of course it's a demo. I think I have the breakpoint stopped. No, still it's running already. So let's wait. If not, I will close the window because I think the breakpoint mess it up. Yeah, let's refresh this. So let's chat with this PDF. Okay, so in this case, it will try to answer from the information in the PDF file. It will read it, and from that information, it will create an answer, which is really nice in the sense that you don't want the AI to get out of context. So here explaining me how to use it, and there some examples and the explanation. And that's basically it. I mean, and well, in this case, it didn't show, but sometimes it shows um, like the exact part of the PDF that he uses. So let's see, let's give it one more try. Explain, explain me which function date. Let's see. So it will show me, because here this looks a little bit not from the file, because usually you see in the bottom the the um, the reference. So let's give it one more try. Live demos with AI can get complicated. Let's see if this time it gives us the right answer. Okay, so this one is, yes, this is right. See, this is how it should be. This is the syntax. And here is the reference. I don't know why last time it went crazy. Here, I don't know why the reference is always wrong. Maybe it's something in the component at the moment. But beside that, I know that this information is in the PDF. And in previous answers, it didn't show us this part, but in this case, it's showing the source. So just by integrating the chat component from Developer Express into SAF, you already have like a RAG functionality built in. Actually, zero lines of code. You only need to pass the file, and you don't have to do anything else beside that. So it's kind of really neat, and you can check it right now. I mean, the repo is here to download. So you can go and take a look to this one and just give a try to that example that I just showed you. So, okay, the next example is that was RAG. The next example is about smart criteria. I've been working on this one, and it's really interesting. It was a little bit difficult at the beginning to understand what's the way to go. But I like it a lot, and I've been improving this example this week. So, well, it's time to shine with this one. So that one is not a property editor or anything. Basically, it's just this object, criteria object test. So this one has like a data type property, um, a type property that is used for the criteria property editor, and then a string criteria with that is using the criteria property editor. So you have the editor alias here, criteria property editor. So then you have the NQL, which is the natural query language, like a human readable like request, the generated criteria, and we can also generate the description of the criteria. And also if we run some validation to see if the criteria is valid or not. So let me show you the controller that handles this. So the controller is kind of really simple again, which is this one. So basically what we do is we get, in this case, I have a document, which is this one, which is all the text on, that's why I have the PDF for the criteria. This is all the rules to create a criteria regarding the Express official documentation. So I basically extract the text from that PDF. So see, it's like 1,700 lines. So I extracted that. I have it here as a text, and then I created this service, and this service takes the documentation text, and there is this method, natural language to criteria, which receives the request in plain text, the schema, and the documentation. And after that, you will get a JSON that is a representation of this object that has the root entity, because all the criteria has to be related to an entity. Then the criteria expressed as text and a little description of the criteria. So here, basically what we're doing is we're extracting with this utility that I created. We extract the schema from an assembly. So we get the persistent classes and we get all the information from them, the name, the relationships, and so on and so forth. And we create a JSON schema and we put it here. So we have the JSON schema, we have the documentation, and we have the request. With that, we can go to this service, and this service is using semantic kernel inside. So we created the kernel builder, we get the chat completion from OpenAI, we use GPT-4o mini, and then we create the chat completion service. With that service, we implement this method, natural language to criteria, which basically is we set the execution settings, and this interaction with the chat will always answer me in JSON format. So it will not answer me in plain text. It will always return a JSON object. Here is the chat system prompt. So given the criteria language from Developer Express in the documentation variable, use the JSON schema of the classes. So this is the schema that I generated from my SAF application. Do not use any other properties. Try to find the path within the property tree to navigate. And if you cannot find a way, like try to different entity as an entry point for the criteria. And then I invoke the prompt, which is transform this natural language query into a criteria that is suitable for querying data. And The result should be a JSON and don't include any extra characters and blah, 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 and the format. So here I have example of the JSON object. This is the JSON text. This is the object that I wanted to return. And that's it. So let me put a breakpoint here. And let's go to that one. So here are some examples that I have been running in the afternoon. Sometimes it gets it wrong the first time, but after a while it gets better and better. So let me create a new object here. So basically this is the domain object, nothing special here. And I paste the query. So I want to get all the customers between the year 2000 and 2001 for the customer category A, and they has to have invoices that has at least two invoice details in the association, and also include the year 2007 and 2009 invoices from December 31 of every year included in this request. So like I try to be tricky with this type of request, and let's see what it gets generated. So let's save this one and let's generate that. So we have a breakpoint here, I think. So here in this case, we're not using chat history, we're using invoke prompt. And this is the value that we got on return. It looks like this. So here is the criteria that was generated. Category A, invoices between these dates, or between these other dates, or between this one, and invoice detail count greater or equal than 2. It seems to be a valid criteria. Let's see what the UI say about this. Yep, it seems fine. Let's see. Give me all the customers with which name starts with the letter O. Let's see which way it generates. To be honest, like after a while, I've been able to get it like right almost like 99% of the time. So see, name is like O. The entity that is going to use as a start entity is customer. And this is the criteria generated. So it can be interesting. So we can say like at least let's see what we can get from this. So here's the criteria. Invoices count 50 and invoice date between these two dates. So this is the criteria generated. So it seems that it's getting better and better, you know. I don't know why. The more I tested, the less I failed creating criteria. And then I validate the criteria, and this is a valid criteria, so I know it will work. I have another prototype that is not done yet that it will show you the query generated by this type of criteria, so you can like tweak it or maybe try to express it in a different way. This example I like a lot. And we're almost done with examples. I'm flying today. So that was the SMART criteria. And the last one is something that I've been working with also, which is the semantic memory plugin for XAF. There are like a few blog posts that I wrote about this. And are all of these one, the semantic kernel memory types, the role of the semantic kernel memory namespace, using XPO as an iMemory store. This is a good one. There's driving the chat component because we need to use the chat component for almost everything here. And next entries. Here you'll see a lot about semantic memory and semantic kernel. So all the demos that I showed you before, there is a blog post about it here. And the interesting example is the example with the semantic memory. Semantic memory is a way to persist big amount of information to be used as memory for the chat. Basically, what you do is like you do a semantic query or a similarity query over collections, and from that you tell the chat completions, okay, these are my possible sources of answers. Make an answer out of these like raw material, let's say like that. So for that one, it's kind of the same idea of the RAG chat. Is a property editor too, but it's a property editor that is a little bit different than the other one. So here we have the memory chat. Everything is almost the same, almost zero changes in the code. The main change is that this chat instance, this chat component instance has also the message sends event wire. So when we receive a message, what we do is we do a similarity search with the memory provider from semantic kernel. So here we have the query. So the query basically says something like, from this collection, this is the text of the query, limit your results to 1, and the minimum relevance score, I use one that is really low, which is 0.2. In the original example from semantic kernel is 0.79, which depending on the model you have, it will be more or less accurate, the similarities. So you can change that value depending on your model, basically. And then what I do is something like this. The predefined answer is no answer. And if there is any answers, I'll concatenate them. And I tell the chat completions, okay, I have this text, and the answer might be on this text, which is the answer value. And the content is the question. So I say something like, with the information stored in this variable, answer this question. And then I execute the chat completion, and then I return the message. So let me show you that case. So if we go here to the, let's see, memory chat. So here I have two memory collections. I have this one for the meetup. I think I was showing this to Javier before. So these are a set of memories that I already pre-created. So let's open this one. So in this one, this is the vector. And the text was, my friend Jose Javier lives in Arizona. That's the last memory I entered. Then that I started to use computers at the age of 13. And this is the vector that represents that. Another memory. This is how it's a recipe for tacos, how to prepare tacos al pastor. And here, notice something like interesting. In the end, I put something like, like that note that is something that is my information. I wrote that Joche favorite ingredient for tacos, fried pineapple with hot sauce. And Here we have other memories that I was born in El Salvador, and that my plans for the winter are visiting Italy with my family. So let's chat with this memory collection. For example, I will ask about my friend Jaime. And it should not be able to answer because there is no information about Jaime in the memories. It said that it cannot tell me where Jaime lives because there is no information about it, but that Jose lives in Arizona. So I need to tweak the prompt to make it more restrictive. But since it didn't make up information like about Jaime, for example, then I can tell like, okay, I was born in El Salvador. It's impossible for this AI to know this. But since we are using the results from the memory collection, it knows some facts about me. I can show you this here. What is Hodge's favorite ingredient in tacos? It should tell me about the pineapple. So here we have calculated the answer. And this is the content. And Hodge's favorite ingredient because it's fried pineapple with hot sauce. That is on the memories. And let's add one more thing. I don't have information about Javier's favorite dish based on the data provided. So there is no information. So this is really neat because we can give the chat completions a set of facts and only answer from that set of facts. And all of this is using basically a disconnected version of the AI. We just handle the message send event and we do the magic that we want here. So if we change this, we can change the accuracy of the search. Let me add just one more memory. I will ask when was the sub community stand up of October? I will ask about this meeting. It should tell me that it doesn't have any information about it. Okay, it doesn't have any information. I don't know if it's he, she, or it. So let's add one memory. So okay, so this is one more memory. And we have one more record here. No, I think it's this one. I don't know in which order it's put it. This is the taco recipe. Okay, so here's the vector that represents the information about SAF community stand-up. And now let's ask about this. Okay, so the staff community stand-up in October will be held on Thursday, October 31 of 2024, and it will be presented by XAFers. So as you can see with the memory provider, we can feed information, then do a similarity search to just answer information, like answers basically based on the information that we have stored in memories. There are other ways to implement this search. In this case, it's similarity search, but it can also be Elasticsearch too. So we have more examples to implement on the future, but we wanted to show you um, what do we have so far on AI integrations. And last for today, I was working on this yesterday, is how to execute asynchronous code. So I guess this is the time on top of that. Now we're all calling asynchronous service in the controllers. So to do that, we have a few options. I wrote a blog post about it, which is this one. That here I show the tickets that open, like that they talk, that the tickets that they talk about asynchronous code within the actions. And I show you the most common errors actually. So for example, when you want to run asynchronous code inside of a simple action, you declare an action like this, and then when you run it, you have the task list that you want to execute, and then you do something like this. You get the awaited, and you get the result, and you do that to a string or whatever to access the content. And this code here, when you get the awaited from the main thread, this will block the application. So let me close this. I will put this article also in the chat. Let me close this example too. Okay. So let's see. Running. I show several cases in here. This is the most natural thing to come with when you have to execute a sync code, but also the worst case, because this will block the UI completely. Then there is another case that is somehow work, which is to mark the method as a sync, and you can await the task there. But the problem of this one is that it doesn't log the UI thread. So it's executing, and if you're interacting with the object here or with the view, this can crash actually. So let's do the first test. If we block the UI thread, we do this, and goodbye application. It will not recover from this one. So let's refresh this. So the second case that we have is to mark with the sync modifier. So this will finish. Let's create a new object. With the sync modifier. So, okay, now the task is running. It was not awaited. I mean, it is awaited, but the method finished. And I can touch the UI here. And when the task finally finished, it will write the results to the UI. And well, it's taking a long time, but maybe because it's the demonstration. Or I don't know if I click the action, Actually, let's see. Yeah, there it is. Now I click the action. So this is the result. And see, the problem is that that value should be written in here and it didn't work because I typed something on it. So you can execute your asynchronous code, but at the price of leaving the UI free. And you can have this type of problem that people continue editing the current object or something. So this is also a no solution. Then we have other cases, even more complicated, where you need to execute um, object space operation inside of the synchronous loops. So it's this one. Let me create another object for this. So this one is going to use the object space inside of the asynchronous operation, and I can still close this. And at one moment or the other, it will explode because um, that controller is about to be indisposed because the code is executing a different thread and it might never return. So you have this task running that is being left there. See, an application crashes. That's the problem when you with the async code, that if you mark the method as async and you await the call, the method will still finish anyway, and it will return to the method once the asynchronous code is finished. But then you have cases like this, which I guess we will get a dispose object error here or something like that. Yes, it's dispose. So it cannot go back to the original state. So for that, I have proposed a solution in the article. So is to use, I created a synchronous background worker. And let me show you how that works in code. So for this one is kind of simple. So here we have the task. The is a list of functions that contains tasks inside. And these tasks are basically these two, where I just fake heavy operation. I just do a delay and return a git, and that's it. So for the action with the background worker, I get the task list. Then I get an action that will happen whenever the background worker notify progress. So this happens here. This code is inside of the UI thread. So I return from the background thread to the UI thread, so I can use the object space, the view, and so on. And also, I have wired the processing done. This is the method that happens when the background worker finishes completely, and it will receive a dictionary of results of all the tasks that we send. If we send one task, the dictionary will contain one entry. If we send 50 tasks, the dictionary will contain 50 entries. And here again is the UI thread, so you can access the, the object space, the view, and so on and so forth. So this case is kind of nice. And in the Blazor version, basically it's basically the same controller, but what we do is we get the service loading indicator. This do the final trick. So when we execute the action, we mark it as a sync, and we show the loading indicator and we put it on hold. And then this will start the worker because it's on the base implementation. And I know it's not that one exactly, it's this one. So basically it's an override from the base from this one in the base controller. So the only difference is that it will start the loading indicator. It will execute the synchronous code. When something happened in the UI, it will report the progress. In this case, if we show the base code, it will show the SAF message, like the little toast that shows. And then when the UI finishing, oh, I'm sorry, when the background task finishing processing, it will go back to the UI thread and release the loading indicator. So this one is really nice. So this one will look something like um, this. See, it's blocking the UI. I cannot move, and it's reporting the progress. And when it finish, it will unblock the UI. So we execute in the background thread, and then we recover control to the fourth thread. So I think that this really neat. I created this helper because when you're interacting with like AI models, you have to do sometimes a lot of synchronous code, like 5 at the same time. And it was complicated to trigger within SAF actions. So that's why I came up with this helper. So as you can see, it was really neat. Again, I can block the UI with the loading indicator and show the progress, and it works fine all the time. So, well, that's it for this show. I hope that you find the examples exciting as we do. I think that there is a lot of things to cover. This is just the beginning. And even though we show like a lot of prototypes, around 6, we easily have around 20 more in the office. So we have voice integration, voice chat, and some other crazy things to show. So I guess for the next 2 meetups, we will still continue doing semantic kernel integrations and AI integrations within SAP. So that was it for the show. Thanks everyone for showing, and see you the next time.